Let's start with Texas and Bama.
Yeah, man. I didn't predict this one to go this way. I predicted the score, but I literally the exact score, just the wrong way.
Yeah.
I had Bama over Texas, but of course, as you see, it was the other way around.
You know what you didn't have?
I know exactly what you're about to
Quinn
say.
Ewers. Quinn Ewers. I've been saying this since the beginning of the year. They're Quinn Ewers away from being a really good football team.
I think that can be said. I think the pass catchers would also argue that they were those pass catchers away.
No doubt.
Being a great team. I mean, he impressed me, right? I'm not going to sit back and say somebody throwing 350 yards against Bama and 3 touchdowns is not going to impress me, especially with no picks, right?
Yeah.
But with that being said, I mean, his pass catches were open, and I mean open.
I mean, you say that, but he also puts the ball to a place where they can go get it. Like there was one ball, I believe it was 44 yards on the stat sheet, but he threw that ball about 55 yards in the air.
Yeah.
The receiver, I believe it was Xavier Worthy. The receiver was at the 25-yard line when Quinn let go of the ball, and he caught it in the end zone. That's what you want from a quarterback. That can't look any better.
Separation.
Not when the ball was thrown. It's an overhead safety.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I mean, but he straight beat that guy. But no, I think he's good. I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm on the bandwagon yet. I'm on Texas's bandwagon big time.
Yeah.
But I'm not on Quinn Ewers like you probably expect me to be yet.
Well,
but he had a great game for sure.
He remains as the second best odds for Heisman at plus 900 after week 2.
He's got Bama's number too because he had a great first quarter against Bama last year before getting taken out. Before getting hurt.
Before we talk about Bama, let's stay on the pass catchers for Texas. Yeah. JaTavion Sanders had 5 receptions for 114 yards. They could not cover him straight up. He never got in the end zone, but that guy is serious. And once he has the ball in his hands, he's a threat.
He makes a great case for being the best tight end in the country, even with a man named Brock Bowers existing. So, yeah, I mean, keep going.
And then A.D. Mitchell with another 2 touchdowns. Right. I know you're a big fan of A.D. Mitchell, especially when he was at Georgia. He scored in every playoff game they played in.
Yeah.
But
they play a lot of playoff games, Georgia does. And then, of course, we had Xavier Worthy catching that huge, that bomb. I mean, gorgeous ball.
Yeah.
Just breadbasket, great catch.
But Quinn had a couple of those, man. There's one down the left sideline, one down the right sideline. Just as the game progressed, I was just shocked at the sheer number of balls that he fit in such a tight window. The only place the ball could be, he was putting it there and giving his receivers a chance. I mean, especially after watching this weekend, Quinn Ewers just continues to climb my list of quarterbacks.
Really? Yeah, I mean, he definitely went up a couple as far as I'm concerned. I don't know, man. Again, with those pass catchers, like if he would have put that ball 20 yards left or 20 yards right, Xavier Worthy still would have caught it. I mean, he had so much separation. Now, he put it perfectly.
Yep.
Right? But it looked perfect because, I don't know. I like him. I think he's really good. It was, you're right, a 44-yard pass.
But I don't think that's an argument that's fair for Quinn. You can say it's a perfect ball, but he could have not thrown it perfectly and the receiver still would have caught it. Fine. But he threw it perfectly. Regardless of the latter part of the statement, it was a perfect ball. And he did that on multiple occasions.
I mean, okay, yeah.
Disagree?
Yeah. I mean, to an extent, yeah. I mean, that ball in the end zone, I mean, it made it look perfect because the ball ended up being caught like this, right? But had it been literally 10 yards that way, the ball still would have been caught like this. So, I don't know. And again, his receiver beat that corner by,
safety.
10 yards.
Yeah.
So.
All right, well, let's get into Bama because to me, and it's something that was similar with Alabama when they lost to LSU last year. You were saying this before we started rolling. And then again in this loss to Texas today. To me, their biggest issue was a lack of discipline.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's not something you would typically see out of a Nick Saban team.
Right. And I did start that statement by saying they got flat beat, right? They did get beat by Texas. LSU went and beat them, especially with that 2-point conversion last year. But, yeah, I mean, those are the commonalities in both. Tennessee was a little bit different last year because that was a shootout and they didn't have the ball last. But, yeah, I mean, this 10 penalties for 90 yards. And like you said, from a Saban-led team, that's a little much.
And again, just to stay on that note there, Jermaine Burton caught 3 touchdowns in this game and only got credit for 1.
Yeah.
2 of them came back due to penalty. Now, on one of them, which was right before halftime, where the ball got tipped, he came back to it and made a diving catch. That that still, resulted in 3 points. They kicked a field goal to go to the half. But then coming out of the tunnel for the second half, Jermaine Burton called another ball where he made a couple people miss and took it to the house, and they got no points on that. So you're talking about an 11-point swing, which is the difference in the game.
Yeah.
So discipline is crazy there to see.
Especially from the O-line, man. I mean, that's a group that Saban always has an insane O-line. And they do, right? But that pass rush was getting there a little bit more than, he's probably comfortable with. And then, the penalties, man. The holdings, the pre-snap penalties even. Just absurd. I agree. Now, Milroe, right?
Yep.
You want to talk about not sold. I mean, I don't know that I was sold before the season. What about now, looking back? Even from the first game. And then, of course, this one.
So Milroe is interesting because his profile is that of a dangerous weapon of a quarterback. Yeah. He's fast. He can get out of the pocket. He's got a really good arm. Honestly, his accuracy is not bad either. To me, it's the decision making.
Yeah.
He threw 2 interceptions in this game, and neither of them, or both of them rather, were to double covered receivers.
Yeah.
He threw them into double coverage, whether it be man or zone. There was 2 guys there. One of those picks again resulted in 3 points for Texas, and the other resulted in 7 points for Texas.
Yeah.
So we've taken 11 points off the board for Alabama and given Texas 10, and that's the difference in the game when you lose by 10.
Right. Yeah, man. I mean, I think it's about time. I know Saban doesn't really hesitate to, flop quarterbacks or anything like that. I bet you we see that pretty soon. After a game like this, I bet you we see that pretty soon. Now, if we're looking at stat lines, right, he also did have 2 touchdowns taken off the board.
Mm-hmm.
That's
the thing. I don't necessarily agree with you that we're going to see a quarterback change.
Yeah, I mean, crap. I mean, you look at why, right? He gave the ball away twice, and like you said, the double coverage. I know we watched the game. I mean, those were poor.
Because to me, that's not a lack of ability. That's a decision making thing, which is something that can be fixed in the film room. I don't think there's another quarterback in that room that has the ability that Jalen Milroe has.
I wouldn't disagree, but I think that's rough though, because ability doesn't matter.
It's got to get fixed. I'm agreeing with you there, but I don't think.
You don't think it would have already been fixed?
Well, I'm sure it would have, but I think
Saban quarterback room.
It certainly should have already been fixed, but that doesn't mean just because Jalen Milroe made 2 mistakes between the ears when he played so well for the remainder of the game,
right.
and again, like you said, had two touchdowns taken off the board.
Yeah,
I don't think you can just plug Ty Simpson or Tyler Buckner or whoever it may be, Eli Holstein, whoever you're going to plug into that spot, and immediately have those decision-making issues fixed. As I think if you're going to do that, they may actually take a step back.
Really? That was going to be my next question. So whenever Bama's going to go, they're going to go. You don't think there's a quarterback in that room that would have them winning more games than Jalen Milroe?
I mean, potentially, but I don't have a reason to believe when there's not a more talented quarterback in the room who has less experience, less meaningful snaps, all of those things. Why would I expect them to go into the game and be better between the ears than Milroe? Now they may have that, but that's not my assumption.
Yeah. No, man. I mean, the only reason I say that, I mean, this is their only competition he's faced so far. And man, he played a pretty bad game. He ran for less than 3 yards a carry. He threw 50% from the field. He had a bunch of yards. He had a lot of yards after the catch. And obviously 2 touchdowns. And did throw 2 picks.
I'm with you. Alabama's got some stuff to figure out.
Yeah.
They're going to have to play LSU that first weekend in November. But unfortunately for them, they do have to play Tennessee as well. Now, again, both of those games are at home, so that helps. But 2 really tough games on the remainder of their schedule.
Now, so is this game, right? So
that's why I'm with you.
That's rough. Man, they had, I don't know if this even needs to be talked about, but they had a horrible game day showing. I don't know if you saw the pictures and everything.
Yeah. Well, I think that's just because they always get game day.
Well, that's true, I guess. That's kind of fair. But yeah, I mean, they I don't know, man. That's a struggle. But man, with a favorable schedule like that, I don't know. I just don't want them to throw this season away. Of course, I'm not a Bama fan, but Jalen Milroe is looking like he's kind of trending towards doing that. And by throw away, I mean 10-2 or 9-3. I don't mean anything worse than that.
I think 10-2 is their floor. I think they could split Tennessee and LSU, but I don't see them losing.
Is that because of this football team, or is it because Saban hasn't lost more than 2 games?
I think it's both. They've got arguably the most talented team in the country on paper, and not arguably,
most
they have the most talented team in the country on paper and the best coach of all time leading them. They have things to fix in the film room, but other than that, this is a really, really good team, and Texas just got the better of them.
And then another thing too,
also Texas is a really good team.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I mean, that secondary also got torched too.
Yeah.
So I put a lot of focus on Milroe, but they just looked horrible, really, for Alabama's purposes. That secondary got torched. I mean, the receivers were, again, I alluded to it earlier when we were talking about Ewers. The receivers were, perennially open.
Yeah.
So that's, like, again, a lot of things need to be fixed. Kool-Aid got burnt several times. I mean, they better figure it out, and like you said, quick, because they got some games coming up that they can't afford to really.
Well, and look, it was a game. For the vast majority, for the whole game, it was a game up until
midway in the fourth.
6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So I think you got two really good teams saw each other in Tuscaloosa on Saturday, and the team that made more mistakes lost, and that's how it goes.
Back to the quarterback, just one last thing. I don't know who it would be, and like you said, you named 4 of them. They got a lot of talented quarterbacks in that room.
Yeah.
I would venture to say that one of those would have had this game turn out a little bit differently, but I don't know who, and I guess that's kind of the problem, right? I don't know that there is a more talented quarterback to step up or do anything. The name that jumped out to me was Holstein. We saw him in camp. We saw, talk about talent. I mean, that kid's got it, right? But I don't know that you run out a true freshman in a game like that. So I agree with you in that the Milroe part, but that's trouble. That could mean trouble.
I tend to agree with you that Holstein is incredible for a true freshman. I don't think we're going to get to see him because even if they were going to go freshman, I tend to think they're going to go Lonergan over Holstein.
I agree.
So
and then another thing too, man. I mean, this is a 2-pick game from a Bama quarterback. Like, you know how few, I don't know the stat, by the way, it's not a quiz. But if you take the last, 5 Bama quarterbacks and you took all those games, I mean, that's hundreds of games. You know how many 2-pick games there were fluttered in there? Probably single digits. And so that's rough. But, again, great team they played. I have Texas. I mean, they are steady climbing my rankings.
I think if you said the last 3 Bama quarterbacks, that'd be a no-brainer and say, yeah, probably single digits. But last 5,
I bet it's even low. Real low.
Yeah.
In other words, Bama quarterbacks take care of the ball.
Yeah.
If this becomes a trend, and I'm not saying it will, where he's throwing a pick a game, because right now he's throwing a pick a game, right? Then that's trouble.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, we talked about Bama a lot there. I don't want to take anything away from Texas. They're a great team. They're ranked 4th in the newest AP poll, and deservingly so.
Yeah, I think they're better than Bama. Yeah.